Yes, folks, when you hear this song, you know what time is it. The first read with Masta call. And I want you, the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit-Martinique, to stand up like I am standing up. Morning to all the listeners of CRFM, to all the listeners of Sister Isles Carriacou, the listeners of Real FM 91.9 and 91.5, and listeners on the social media platform of Real FM. Morning to the Prime Minister of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit-Martinique. Morning to all the ministers. Morning, folks. Morning, Mom. The first read this morning comes from Ecclesiastes, chapter 12 and verse 13. And I quote, "Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man." Folks, here the word through the wise man Solomon says, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter, not part of or piece of or some of. And after we have heard the conclusion of the whole matter, we ought to fear God. Fear the Ancient of Days. Keep his commandment. Do what he says. Go where he sends. For this is the whole duty of man. So, folks, I want us to understand here the fear of the Ancient of Days, because he is perfect, he comforts the soul. His testimony is right. He makes wise the simple. He is more to be desired a day than gold, yea, than much fine gold. He is also sweeter than honey and the honeycomb. So he ought to be respected. We ought to keep his commandments. The commandments of the Lord is pure. It enlightens the eyes. That's the whole duty of man. So we ought to recognize a higher and superior being. The great I am, the one who was, who is, and who will be. The one we draw all our strength. The one who blesses us. The one who protects us. And the one who provides for us. So after the conclusion of the whole matter, we ought to fear God and keep his commandment. Your regular motivation for the weak folks: never let the odds keep you from doing what you know in your heart you are meant to do. So whatever you know you are meant to do, despite the odds, despite the trial, despite the tribulation, despite being tried, despite being tested, when you know it is in your heart to do, do it. And I want us to ponder, folks, on that thought for whole of the week. When you come up against them and you feel like, but I want to give up. No. Never let the odds keep you from doing what you know in your heart you were meant to do, folks. We were not here for the last 2 weeks, unfortunately, because of the cricket. And even last week, the West Indies on last Sunday gave us something to smile about. And I want to congratulate Team West Indies for providing us with the excitement, the entertainment, and the victory. And to those who went and had a good time, congratulations, you supported well. You are, as they say, the 12th man, because 11 players on the field, but the 12th man always give a lift, which is the spectators and the crowd. So kudos to Grenada, kudos to the groundsmen, the men who had the field in pristine condition. Was a very good cricket wicket, and it was something positive, something good, folks. As the reading from the book Ecclesiastes says, let us hear the whole conclusion of the matter. And there is a matter at hand, friends, and we ought to discuss and hear the whole conclusion of the matter. The matter being the recent ruling by the High Court as it relates to pension. Pension is a fundamental right. We all agree. And folks, this is a matter of significant proportion. I make this statement, the conclusion is when all is heard on a matter. All, not some, not opinions, not emotions. When all of the matter is being heard, then you come to a conclusion. And folks, I'll endeavor here this morning to immerse you with information as it relates to the conclusion of the whole matter. The matter of public workers' pension is not a matter manufactured or caused by this present administration. It is a matter inherited by this administration for over the last 30 years. And this administration has never shied away from its moral obligation to the workers of this country. And this is another challenge facing this particular administration. So when this administration say tried, tested, and delivered, and just before we go, I want to set the preambles. This administration was tried in Ivan, and we build back better. Tried, tested, and delivered. This administration have been tried in MLE, and we build back better. Tried, tested, and delivered. This administration have been tested with the economic situation in 2013 on its return to governance, and it has delivered. Tried, tested, and delivered. This administration have been tried with the COVID pandemic and have delivered. Tried, tested, and delivered. So folks, there's no doubt in my mind that this situation of pension for public workers, this administration will be tried, tested, and there's no doubt, not a shadow of any doubt, that a sensible solution will be found. I believe that the public workers are entitled and deserving of pension. However, the whole of this matter ought to be understood, and a conclusion must be the commitment by the government to do right, not only by the public workers, but all workers in Grenada, Carriacou, and Pitimatnik. The greater good for the greater number. Lives and livelihood could be impacted. So we must get to the conclusion, and the conclusion is listening to the whole matter before us. And this government, your government, not only stands open for dialogue, but has initiated the whole dialogue as relates to pension for public workers. And that cannot be said of other administration in this country. Fact. This government saw it had a moral obligation even when it was not legally must. The government of the day saw it fit that public workers who give the best of their years to service to this country has to be taken care of. And that is the crux of a government that cares. So when this decision was handed down by the High Court, I was under no illusion or no doubt that it is a difficult matter to deal with. However, this present government is well placed, experience, know-how to treat with and deal with this matter in the best interest of all workers in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. And this again constitutes the approach by this government taken on matters of national interest, considering all and not some. This matter of pension, as we all know, folks, it is a complex matter. Don't be fooled or think otherwise. It's just an easy matter. It is a complex matter. And as such, this matter must be dealt with in the best way and not rush to a solution. This government, your government, is completely committed to the case of all workers as demonstrated in the past. So make no mistake, this government, your government, has even indicated after it would have time to read the written ruling, it would engage the unions in discussion in finding a solution to treat with this matter. This matter must also be understood was not the making of this government. This government did not create the situation as is, but as a matter inherited by this and previous government. So point to note, one must understand, and it's all dealing in coming to a conclusion of the whole matter, when the whole matter must be heard and discussed. The first point we must recognize, your government, this government, is completely committed to the case of dealing with this matter for all workers. The second point, what must be noted, this matter before us, pension, is not the doing of this government. This government didn't create that situation, but it was one inherited by this government and other previous government. But your government, this government, is the only government that saw it as a moral obligation to the workers, the public workers of this country, to enter into discussion and dialogue with the unions to treat with that matter. There has never been lack of commitment by this present government to find a lasting and a fair solution to this issue. And it has to recognize and has recognized its moral obligation to deal with this matter. And in dealing with this matter, one has to consider several issues, several facts, all workers. Because at the end of the day, it's a social issue, it's a financial issue, and it is an issue that would affect this country as we move forward. And this government, based on its track record of being tried, tested, and delivered, is in the best position at this time, to treat with a matter like that. However, it includes all and sundry. It is an effort of unity, an effort of coming together as we as a nation grapple with the issue of pension to come to a solution, long lasting and a sensible solution, recognizing all that it takes and the effect it would have on you, the citizenry, and the country. So coming to a conclusion, it is very, very important that all issues are thought about and not just as some are saying, we want we money, give us we money. It is not a simple matter like that. And through our discussion this morning, folks, we'll get to the issues confronting us in coming to a particular solution to this matter. The public workers have a right to pension. They deserve pension. However, there are other workers ought to be considered. And when you treat with matters of national interest, it is the interest of the nation as a whole and not one particular section. And this government has demonstrated its ability to treat with. This government has initiated the discussion on pension. Point to note, part of coming to the conclusion, this government is committed to finding solution. And this was not the doing, pension was not the doing, or was not created by this government, but it is one inherited. And because this government, what it sought, your government, it has initiated with the union. Let us sit down and discuss, because we understand, we know it's a moral obligation, we know. Although we didn't have a legal obligation yet, but morally we had to do it. And I will give you examples in our discussion this morning where the government already treated with. So this whole notion that the government would appeal, and this whole notion about making pension into politics ought not to happen. We cannot bring politics into pension because it affects red, green, yellow, black, white. The greater good for the greater number. And we ought to see it in the interest of Grenada. If there's a time, folks, when we have to put country first, if there is a time when we have to put Grenada first, if there is a time we have to rest down our political differences outside and treat with, now is the time. Now is the time that we ought to show that we care. Now is the time that we ought to show that we're preparing for our children and our children's future. And we are not only preparing for the now, folks, point to note, we are not only preparing for the now, but for the future. And the context of pension ought to be looked in that way. So we have to rest down all our political differences because it's a matter of national interest. If there is a time when we ought to put country before party, folks, is now. If there is a time when we ought to put Grenada first, is a time. If there is a time when we have to demonstrate love for country, is now. So all the talk, we talk about love for country. All the saying, we say about love for country, for nice song bites. Now we have to talk the talk and walk the walk, because our nation depends on what happens now. We are at a crossroad, folks. And pension is the issue of the day. And I have no doubt this government, I have no doubt your government is able and ready to enter into dialogue with all to ensure that we as a people come to a solution, a lasting solution, a fair solution to the issue at hand. Recognizing that the government, whoever government comes in power, has that moral obligation to deal with that matter. Folks, the question here, it begs a question here at this juncture. Would you want a government in training, a government that does not know the nuances, to deal with a matter like that against a government who has a track record of being tried, who has a track record of being tested, and who has a track record of delivering? It is a straight case. I would rather a government who has been there. And if ever there's a time we need the new National Party to remain in governance, is now, to treat with a matter that has far-reaching implications for this nation and all its people. So the time is now that, folks, we prove that country comes before party. That love of country, we all love country and will do whatever it is. And for our country's sake, folks, no sacrifice it should be too hard to make. And sacrifice here, folks, is giving up everything you have for someone or something else. And at this juncture, is giving it up for country. So we ought to make sacrifice to come to a fair. come to a lasting solution and recognize the moral obligation to workers of this country. And I guard against making this issue into a political issue. Making it into a political issue will have no winners. We cannot divide and rule on a matter of such national importance, which would affect everyone. And I say everyone in this country. We ought to recognize that this government, we all must know, must be able to find over $1 billion now. And finding $1 billion now, we have to consider, should we bankrupt the whole society? All these things ought to be considered before getting to the conclusion of this matter. We're talking about here enormous sum of money, folks. Over $1 billion. Hence the reason, folks, I tell you, if there's a time we have to put country first, if there's a time we have to put Grenada first, is now. To find $1 billion now. Would we want to bankrupt the society? I think not. So prudence, understanding, and serious discussion moving forward must be done, folks. And we have to consider that in coming to the conclusion of the whole matter. Point to note, it would not be a one-off payment. It would be a continuation going forward. It would be a continuation going forward. I'm here this morning making those points of discussion for us as a people to understand what is confronting us and to prepare us as to how we go forward, how we treat with, and how we come to a fair, lasting, and sustainable solution to the issue of pension. And we ought not make it into politics and say, oh, they corner the NLP now, we want to see how they will get the money. And even if the NLP is not in office, whoever in office has to find that money. And that is the crux of the issue. And it is not a one-off payment, folks. The government, whoever government it is, would have to find that money. And looking at the alternative to this government, your government, could you quite with all certainty say yes, they are ready to find a solution to this issue? And that what would it come down to, folks? The crux of the matter, which team is better able to find a lasting, a fair, and a sustainable solution to the issue of pension? That is the question one has to ask in coming to the conclusion of this matter. And folks, as I say, I guard against one making this thing into politics or one trying to score political points. Because trying to score political points here would be a detriment to the society, a detriment to the nation, a detriment to Grenada. It calls on all hands on deck. No one person would have the solution. Leadership would matter in a time like that. In times like these, folks, we need a strong leader. In times like these, folks, we need a tried-tested and a leader that delivered. In times like this, we need a leader of strength to lead by the front. Because this is not an issue about party. This is not an issue about some. This is an issue about Grenada. This is an issue about your children and the future of your children's children. This is an issue of finding a lasting, a sensible and a sustainable solutions to the situation. Folks, I am going through it painstakingly slow, so you could understand in coming to the conclusion of the matter. And we ought to understand, folks, we ought to get to the point that it is a matter for us as a people. It is a matter that calls for all of us. We ought to have sober discussions. And discussions ought not to be made on affiliation politically or emotions. It is a matter of such importance that we cannot slip up, that we cannot afford to make mistake in going forward and treat with this matter, folks. And it's one that we need to understand in coming to an amicable solution, in coming to a fair solution and a sustainable solution in this matter. So, folks, we need to soberly deal with. We need to soberly think of. We need to soberly treat with the matter confronting us now. We need to have discussions as it relates to how we move forward. We need to have discussions as it relates to what is fair. Folks, we'll take a break here, folks, and we'll be back for more discussions.
So the treasury broke and they say that recession jamming. So to foreign countries really start migrating. They lose faith in the country, they say we gone down the drain. They say no more could we see happy times again. But the will to recover in my people like have confidence. Although many may seem to feel that I talking nonsense, but the majority are we decide we're not going to run, because now is the time to show we patriotism. For we country facing is dark, it's our, so our people need us today more than ever. But in our fight to recover, if ever you feel to surrender, it have one little thing that I want you always remember. We could make it if we try, just a little harder. If we just give one more try, life could be much sweeter. From the country, we analyze just what was the problem. Yes, we start making very positive move to solve them. We fired the old set of managers we had working, and it's a new group we went and we bring in. And if the goods we require, them new managers not supplying. When election time come back wrong, it's new ones we bring in. But if it's one thing about my people, I could guarantee that they would never ever put party before country. And if the country facing is dark, it's sour, and our people need us today more than ever. But in our fight to recover, if ever you feel to surrender, it have one little thing that I want you always remember.
Yes, folks, we're back. And as the song said, whatever confronts us, folks, we could make it if we try. Yes, we could make it if we try, just a little harder. To the listeners of CRFM, Sister Isles Carriacou, Real FM 91.9 and 91.5 and all social media platforms of Real FM, Grenada, Carriacou, and Pity Matnik. Here we go, folks. We as a people could make it if we try. We have proven that in fact, and we have the leadership in place, folks. We have the team in place, folks, who have been tried, who have been tested and delivered, folks. Folks, point to note and question to be asked. If this was a simple matter, folks, don't you think that how about Augustus Blaze would have fixed it? Don't you think that Ben Jones would have fixed it? If it was simple, folks, do you think that Brathwaite would have fixed it? That George Brizan would have fixed it? That Tillman Thomas would have fixed it? And yes, folks, the lawyer leading the team was the legal advisor to the National Democratic Congress. If it was easy then, don't you think he would have advised Tillman Thomas to fix it? Case in point, and point to note here, folks, it is not an easy matter to deal with. However, this government, your government, have never shied away from dealing with this matter and has shown its commitment. Because no government in the past 38 years has even entertained the thought to deal with this matter, folks. And that speaks volume. So when the National Democratic comes and words from its present leader is we're going to honor and recognize the court ruling, ask them the question about Homelin Armstrong in 2012. Ask them why they didn't order and pay in 2012. Because they're telling you now they're going to pay. They go recognize what the court say. Ask them why they didn't recognize in 2012 the matter with Homelin Armstrong. Ask them. He who allege ought to prove. So now they go pay in the billions when it was not in the billions with Homelin Armstrong case in 2012. That's the question to ask. That's the question you ought to ask. So when they come around and trying to make this issue of pension now into politics, just simply ask them, folks, weren't there a matter with Homelin Armstrong in 2012? And ask them, the government of the day, how they treated you this matter. So if pension was an easy situation, an easy matter, folks, they would have fixed it. They didn't have the appetite so to do. But this government has demonstrated the appetite to pay. Even so much as 102 persons who have retired presently is benefiting 70% of the final salary in the tune of 2.5 million, and that is a fact. If you don't believe me, fact check it. So that, when I say, I am totally convinced that this present administration will find a way. But it is not easy like kissing hands, folks. And one got to recognize that. And if it was an easy fix, it would have been done by the previous administration. But none, including the administration when the lawyer, Mr. Bissell, was part of, did not have the appetite so to treat with. So one ought to consider the whole matter in coming to a conclusion on pension. So when some say pay the money, when some say we want the money, ask them in 2012. about the Humberlin Armstrong case and the judgment of the court then, ask these questions, and they ought to be forthcoming. That is to show this is not an easy matter to deal with, and they know. So why are they trying to tell you it is an easy matter? Pay the money, and they'll pay the money. And as I just indicated, some now who are advocating pay the money, you want the money, was part of previous governments who did nothing on the matter, not even having a discussion on pension. Point to note, this you listening them now makes it feel that it was the doing of this government, so they have to fix it. They did not even enter into discussions. And this government enter into discussions with the union without being forced, without being coerced, to find ways to fix, deal with, and treat it a complex matter like pension. And even when they was under no legal obligation, 102 persons, retired persons, are receiving, together with contributions from the NIS, are receiving 70% of their last salary in tune of 2.5 million. That is commitment enough. That is belief enough. That is belief enough that this government, your government, is ready, is willing and able to have discussions and find solutions, lasting solutions, fair solutions, and I might add sustainable solutions. The financial health of the country ought to be considered in any discussion coming to a conclusion on pension. You don't want to come to a conclusion that would bankrupt. That could bankrupt the society. That would affect adversely on the social safety nets of this program. That would affect the Imani program, the same one everyone is touting and say it's time for the young people. You don't want to come to a solution that would affect them adversely. So I call for sober head, sober discussion, and not one of emotion, not one of political leanings, but one where we put Grenada and all its citizens first, and not for some. All workers are to be considered because all workers would contribute in some way to the development of this country. Public workers, yes, and other workers in the private sector also. So in coming to a conclusion on the matter of pension, all that has been considered. So after listening to the whole of the discussion, then and only then, we will come to a fair. We come to a lasting and a sustainable solution, not bankrupting the entire society in coming to that conclusion. And that is a point to note. That is a point to understand, folks, that the situation where it is and which team is better placed at this time. At this time in the junction of our history, as the song said, we as a people could make it if we try. Just a little harder. Just understanding the issues confronting us. Just understanding the end game. Just understanding we want to be fair to all. We want what we're doing to be lasting. And we want it to be sustainable. We want to leave something not for the now. Not only for the now, but for the future. For the future, yes, for your children. For the future, yes, for your children's children. And looking at the issue of pension, all must be considered. We must hear the whole matter. We must discuss the whole matter. And the solution at the end of discussion, the conclusion must be one for all and not for some. Folks, that's the issue. If it was an easy solution to come by, folks, ask yourself, wouldn't a previous administration do it? Because it is nothing. Wouldn't have they end up or invited discussion with the union? They didn't. This administration had the moral belief, had the appetite to treat with it, recognizing it is a fundamental right. It is a fundamental right for all workers. It is a fundamental right for public workers. But we also must never forget all workers. We must not forget the impact on society. We ought not forget the safety net programs. We ought not forget the poor and vulnerable in all our discussions as it relates moving forward to pension. And folks, that is the crux of the issue here. The issue here is not who, because the government in all its dealing recognize that public workers deserve pension. Even before the ruling of the court was out, this government, your government, indicated that it would abide by the ruling of the court. However, it says to you, let us look at the written ruling and then we'll invite the unions to have meaningful discussions as to the way forward. And in moving forward, a lot of things ought to be taken into consideration. First and foremost, the financial health of this country. You don't want to bankrupt the whole society or the nation. Secondly, all workers. Thirdly, the enormity of the situation. And fourthly, how you come to a solution one that is lasting, a solution two that is fair, and a solution three that is sustainable. Bearing in mind whatsoever solution is reached, it would be continued. It would not be a one-off. And fourthly, one ought to consider this situation is not the doing of the present administration, but is a situation inherited by this administration. And this administration is the one that had the appetite, in recognition that a government is for all of the people, in recognition that public workers deserve pension, invited the union to have discussion. They were not forced. They were not coerced into having discussions. And we are at this point. There's no need of pointing fingers now. There's no need to Monday morning quarterback and Dempsey and Ishii. The need here now is to put Grenada first. The need here now is to put country first. And recognize we all have a part to play. We all need to be on board. We need to rest our emotions down. We need to rest our party affiliations down, our political aspirations down, and put Grenada first. It would be beneficial in the long run, in the future for all. So folks, we need to consider that fact. But along the way, we all must understand, folks, what is it we're dealing with and how we treat with. And in recognition, the government, your government, the commitment to offer public workers and to extend to all Grenadian workers, every citizen in general, the well-being. So in this discussion of pension, the well-being of every citizen in the state of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique must be considered, and their well-being must be first and foremost. It ought not to be for some, but all citizens of Grenada, the general well-being must be considered at the conclusion of this matter. The greater good for the greater number, lives and livelihood. always have to be considered, folks. And this government has a track record of recognizing lives and livelihood must be improved. The greater good for the greater number must be considered. And in treating with a matter of pension, I have no doubt that this government is so committed to the cause, with all of us putting Grenada first, will come to a lasting, will come to a fair and sustainable conclusion for the well-being, folks, the well-being of all citizens, the general well-being of all citizens in the state of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. Fact, there have been more progress. We're talking about delivery. There have been more progress on the issue of pension to public workers under this government, your government, in the last 5 years, more than any other time in the last 38 years. And that is a fact. And that shows commitment. That shows the appetite of this present administration, ably led by the Right Honorable Dr. Kit Mitchell, to treat with and deal with matters of national importance. And that is a fact. And that speaks volumes, friends, as to the type of leadership, as to the type of person we want at the helm at this present time to treat with a matter of this proportion. So when you talk about nothing has been done, here is a case in point. Much has been done by this government, your government, in so much an issue of pension. Fact, this government, more progress has been done on the issue of pension under the watch of this government in the last 5 years than any other government in this country in the last 38 years, bar none. So when I say, I believe, when I say I know this government is ready to do right by the people, all of the people, when I say this government is ready to consider the well-being of every citizen of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, I am well placed, because the evidence here afford me to make that statement. More progress on the burning issue of pension have been made under this government, yes, your government, over the past 5 years. And that ought to be considered. Facts, friends. Over 102 retired persons are now receiving 70% of their last salary in conjunction with the NIS and the government, to the tune of $2.5 million. And if that is not evidence enough that this government is ready, able, and willing to treat with the issue of pension, what is? That cannot be said for previous administration in 2012. Ask the National Democratic Congress, the Humlin Armstrong case, ask them, folks, what was the ruling and what did they do? And that is the crux of the matter. And that shows love. That shows that this government, your government, ably led, and I told you folks, leadership matters, ably led by the Right Honorable Dr. Kit Mitchell and the team of the New National Party in dealing with. And I dare say he is in position as the Prime Minister, because leaders are set up and put down by the Ancient of Days. And the Ancient of Days, all-knowing, who was, who is, and who is to come, know the situation would face us, and he has caused the Right Honorable Dr. Keith Mitchell and the team of the New National Party to be in power this time. In times like these, we need a strong leader. In times like these, we need a strong team. In times like these, we need a united team. In times like these, we need a team of men and women who understands, who has what it takes, who has been tried, who has been tested, and who has proved to the Grenadian people that they are quite capable of finding solutions to issues of national interest for the greater good, for the greater number, and to affect life and livelihood in a positive way. And what the Ancient of Days is saying to you, Dr. Claudius Mitchell, I have one more. I have one more hurdle for you to cross. I have one more hurdle for you to cross to stamp your legacy. And here's it, pension. My humble servant, I know I've placed you there to treat with. And I know you will treat with and find fair and find a sustainable solutions. Find a lasting solutions for the people. So when you will depart into the sunset, he'll say to you, well done, my faithful servant. You've done well. So that is the crux of the matter, folks. So when I say to you folks, whenever the next election is called, these are the facts you ought to consider. These are the facts you ought to consider in coming to the conclusion of who you leave this country in the hands of who you leave them. And in the hands of Dr. Keith Mitchell and the New National Party, you will be leaving Grenada, Carriacou, and Pitimatnik in capable hands to treat with and to deal with matters of national importance and to deal with matters that would have a long and lasting effect on your children. And the future of your children and your children's children is here before you, Grenada. The citizens of this country, I am going through this issue here today. I am having this discussion with you. So when you come to the conclusion of the matter, you will make a choice not only for you. You will make a choice not only for your children and your children's future, but you will make a choice for the state of Grenada, Carriacou, and Pitimatnik. Friends, all the song and dance and touting and all the march from Melville Street to Tantin about we win. Folks, even when there was no legal obligation to the New National Party to public servants, 102 public servants are being paid a monthly pension of 70% of the last salary, which is a combination from the NIS and your government. Over 102 persons are in receipt to the tune of over $2.4 million. So friends, persons are already benefiting even when there was no legal obligation, but the government, your government, found that it had a moral obligation to the public workers of this nation who have given yeoman service to this country. And now as the time has come. Yes, they have done their best. And the time is here for them to rest. And the government will say, we're giving you 70% of your final salary. More than 2/3. 70% is more than 66%, my friends. And this government has demonstrated to you that it has what it takes. It has the appetite to consider you, the workers, to consider the sacrifice you make, and to bring benefit to you. So I have no doubt, you causing the NNP to continue to govern this country, a long, a lasting, a fair, and a sustainable solution to the pension issue will be brought to bear, considering every worker in the state of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, considering the general well-being of every citizen of the state. And that is the crux of the matter. And that is a government you need to be in power. That is a government you need to continue to manage the affairs of this nation. And that is a government that has demonstrated love. Love for you, the people. Love for you, the people of Grenada, even when there was no moral or legal obligation so to do. They already treat with the issue of public workers receiving pension. And that is facts. That is not noise. That is not promises made. As when they say, we're going to make all Imanis permanent. That is not promises made to say we're going to increase the pay of the Imani. That is not promises say we'll abide by the ruling of the court and pay the money. But Hormelin Armstrong couldn't say the same thing in 2012. And these are the facts, friends, in coming to the conclusion of the matter of pension, and by extension, the conclusion you have to make come next election. I'm bringing you the evidence. I'm giving you in a manner that you could understand. I'm not bringing it to you with fly over your head. I'm not bringing any empty promises. These are facts. These are facts indeed you could take to the bank, as the 102 persons who retired public workers could do right now. And I know, even if I did now, folks, Answer will bring the news that this government, when you, the people, vote them back into office, would treat with, would find a solution lasting, would find a solution fair, would find a sustainable solution to attribute or to enable the well-being, the general well-being of all citizens of this state. And in finding a solution and coming to the conclusion, that has to be first and foremost the greater good for the greater number of folks. Lives and livelihood affected in a positive way. So yes, public workers, we understand. Yes, we believe you deserve the best. But I don't want you to rule with emotions and cause the thing to be double standard. We have to consider those among us who means doesn't afford them, their well-being also. We have to consider in the whole discussion, folks, the poor and vulnerable. We have to consider among us, folks, those who are dependent of the safety net. So whatever solutions, folks, whatever solution and conclusion we come to at the end of the day, we should be fair to public workers. We should be lasting, would be sustainable. We ought not leave the poor and vulnerable. We ought not leave those who are depending on the safety net programs, the social programs. We ought not to forget them. We ought not to forget the elder among our midst, who might not even be part of the pension. We ought not to forget the young ones. We ought not to forget the wardens. We ought not to forget the imanis. We are not to forget the contract workers in all of this discussion, folks. So when I say we ought to listen to the whole matter, all of the matter, folks, in coming to a conclusion, I speak to you. I speak to you soberly today. I speak to you factually. I speak to you not on emotions. I'm speaking to you straight. I'm giving you information, so yes, folks, you could understand. Yes, folks, you need to have this information. You need to understand what it is. You need to understand what is facing us as a nation. And not into emotions, give us free money, we want money at the expense of everyone else. And everyone has a right, so given by the Constitution. The government has a moral obligation to ensure that the general well-being of all, not some, of all the citizens of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique is being looked at. So in our discussion going forward, I know the unions mean well for the workers, and I wouldn't take them. I expect them to represent the workers. Hats off to them for sticking to the issues. However, the time is now when we as a people are to consider a word we and not us and them. The court has ruled, and no time for pointing fingers. The court has ruled, and in the last 38 years, nothing has been done, and something should be done. However, I ask the union not to go into the discussions on emotion, but putting everybody first. Yes, put your workers, but don't double standard the thing. The financial health of the country ought to be considered in any discussion. The well-being of those who the state ought to take care of ought to be considered. The well-being of those dependent on the state ought to be considered. Those who are dependent on the safety net and social programs ought to be considered. The elderly among us ought to be considered. The young ones. The young ones, yes. And here I speak of ones in the Imani program. Here I speak of the wardens. Here I speak of the contract workers. Ought to be considered. And then, and only then, after discussing the whole of the matter, we'll come to a conclusion that would benefit all and not some. That would benefit the general well-being of all its citizens. When I hear speak of all its all, old, young, middle. And this administration has demonstrated and has proven, even when there was no legal obligation to put it blind, even when they didn't must, they consider public workers, those retired, and 102 persons, or even more by now, are benefiting, are receiving 70% facts. You could fact check me, of their last salary to the tune of over 2.4 million, which is a continuation. It was not a one-off payment. So, folks, I am convinced. I am convinced that your government, this government, ably led by the Right Honorable Dr. Kit Mitchell, together with the unions, would come to a lasting and a fair solutions to all of the issue of pension, taking the whole of these issues into consideration, folks. And we ought to be sober. We ought to think of the country. We ought to think of every citizen moving forward We ought to think of being fair to all workers of this country, so they could benefit of us. We have to consider the financial health of the country, the financial situation of the country. Folks, bearing in mind, the figure is being spoken of over $1 billion, folks. And these folks, as I explained to you, it is not a one-off payment. It is not a payment you make one time, but you have to continue month by month by month. And that would be the crux of the matter. Finding these funds should not cause you to find it to the detriment of other persons in society. The well-being of every citizen ought to be considered in this country. And folks, we need to be sober. We need to understand. We need to understand, folks, the whole matter before coming to a conclusion. And I have no doubt whatsoever, when we find out the whole matter, and we discuss the whole matter, and we understand the whole matter, we'll come to one conclusion, and one conclusion only. This government, yes, this present government, deserve the opportunity to continue to govern this country, to continue to bring benefits to you, the people, to continue to treat with matters. Because yes, folks, they have been tried. They have been tested and delivered. And that's one more trial. And I have no doubt they will deliver. They will deliver to you, the citizens of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, and not make excuses to you. And not say to you, yes, we understand. It is not an easy matter. If it was easy, it would have been done already. And these folks, this administration has shown, has demonstrated the appetite to do for and on behalf of the people of Grenada, Petit Martinique, and Carriacou. And I have no doubt this present situation, they will find a solution in conjunction with you, the people of Grenada, in discussions with the unions, in coming to a fair, a lasting and a sustainable solution that will continue to bring the general well-being of all citizens of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, folks. So that's the situation confronting us as a nation. And I said, folks, if there is a time when we need to put country first, is now. If there's a time when Grenada ought to be placed first, now is a time. If there is a time we need a leader in the caliber of the Right Honorable Dr. Keith Mitchell, now is now. If there's a time we need a united team in government, is now. If there's a time when we need a government to maintain the stability of this country, is now. And we have this government, your government. So it is, in the conclusion of the matter, when the bell is rung, to give the New National Party, ably led by Dr. Keith Mitchell, the opportunity to continue to treat with, and pension would be one of the issues on the front burner, folks. We'll take a break here, folks, and be back.
where come forth so much black makers of history. Man, I sure that many people will agree if I say she's blessed by the Almighty. Oh God, the standard of skills and talent we have down there in this land, it is too much for me to mention. Yeah. The level of education keep rising to higher heights. And if I'm wrong, don't say that I'm right. No, I want to tell everybody I'm so proud of my country. Don't care wherever I may be, I say Grenada belong to me. No country in this world could do the things that my country would do for me. I am proud. I love my Grenada, my homeland forever. Sing the chorus louder. Tell them about Grenada, the land of my grandfather. She will always prosper. Oh, my Grenada, land of fruits and culture. Grenada is such a paradise. Oh God. But a lot of folks don't realize, if we learn to pull we hand, do the little that we can, we could make Grenada a better land. Hey. Mommy, oh, sometimes when I go to a foreign country, such as the United States, who's so wealthy, I just beg the Father to have some mercy. When I see madness in society, oh God, sometimes I put on my TV to check out the daily news. The things I see does have me confused. Hey. The number of crime and violence I see on the street, sometimes I'm frightened I cannot eat. Hey. But when you check out Grenada, we have no diamond and silver, but we just live in unity, and that's what make me happy. Is then I come to realize, oh God, my country is a paradise. Hey. I love my Grenada, my homeland forever. Sing the chorus louder. Tell them about Grenada, the land of my grandfather. She will always prosper. Oh, my Grenada, land of fruits and culture. Grenada is such a paradise. Oh God. But a lot of folks don't realize, if we learn to pull we hand, do the little that we can, we could make Grenada a better land. Hey. Mommy, oh my Grenada. Some things that does really make me unhappy is when I see people here in my country creating some false impressions about us, telling the whole world Grenadians have cuss. If we should sit down and take this thing to consideration, it do no good for our nation, no. So if we want the country to be outstanding among the rest, we got to try some constructiveness. So I want to tell all you people who creating the trouble, it's time to check up on yourself and put hatred on the shelf. Then your eyes will open to see, oh God, a nice place Grenada could be, and you'll be proud. I love my Grenada, my homeland forever. Sing the chorus louder. Tell them about Grenada, the land of my grandfather. She will but a lot of folks don't realize. If we learn to pull we hand, do the little that we can, we could make Grenada a better land. Hey. Mommy, oh my Grenada.
Hold not thy peace, O God of my salvation, because the mouth of the wicked and of the deceitful is open. Come with I. Rastaman throw one stone, and it bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. Out of him foot dread, and the man throw one stone, and it bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. Only when man like Marcus Garvey speak, wicked men would I hear. You know hear. Instead of that, they only sit aside and rob and cheat and oppress the poor. May God, what a sin thing.
Yes, folks, I'm back. The listeners of CRFM, the listeners of Sister Isles Carrico, to the listeners of Real FM 91.9 and 91.5, and all listeners on the social media platforms of Real FM. We're back. And as the song says, Grenada belongs to all of us, folks. Grenada belongs to all of us, folks. So we ought not put party before country. And dealing with the issue, the matters confronting us, to come to the issue at hand. In discussion with the union and this government, no agreement was reached on the 25% gratuity. However, there were always proposals as it leads to that. And I bring that to mention to show to you that this government has always indicated and the understanding that workers deserve the best. Your government has always, this present administration, your government, has always acted responsibly on complex matters with the understanding that at the end of the day, folks, and that is point to note here, whatsoever conclusion that will be reached would be a claim on the state of Grenada, Carrico, and Petit-Martinique. So, folks, I don't want us to be misled and believe that the claim is on the new national party. It is a claim on the state of Grenada. That is why I'm saying to you, let's put country first. Let love of country prevail. Because whatsoever solution we end up at, whatsoever conclusion we reach, folks, would be a claim on the state of Grenada, Carrico, and Petit-Martinique. That is why all your folks, I implore, and I so advising that we should not make this thing into something political. It is bigger than any political party. It is the state of Grenada, Carrico, and Petit-Martinique. It is a matter of finding a fair solution. It's finding one that is lasting. It's finding one that is sustainable. And not one that would bankrupt the society. And folks, I'm telling you this because the whole matter ought to be discussed in coming to the conclusion. Any claim that is reached at the end of the day would be a claim for Grenada, whether NNP would be in office or out of office, it would be a claim on the state. But I hasten to add, the track record of NNP in treating with solutions and being responsible in dealing with complex issue, Ivan MLE, the state of the economy in 2013, and the pandemic has shown that the team of the United National Party is capable and ready, has a good leader, exemplary leader, has a proper team and a team united to face. Could we say that about the opposition? No. So one has to understand, folks, I am telling you this here, in dealing with the whole matter to come to a conclusion. And this government has demonstrated time and time again, because they have been tried, tested, and have delivered, that they have acted responsibly in dealing with all complex matters, with the understanding that a matter like that, pension, would be a claim on the state of Grenada. And has shown compassion and concern for all public workers and all other citizens. Plans and programs by this government has shown compassion for public workers by all the increases they have received. Yes, and I must speak of increases. All the increases they receive from public workers are received. And other workers in the society, or other persons in the society, who rightfully demand and expect the best at all times. So again, the matters confronting us to come into a conclusion or to recognize that all citizens of the state rightfully demands and expect the best from this government and any government. Expect the government to ensure that the general well-being of every citizen ought to be considered. And I am confident that in the face of this particular challenge, we could make it if we try as a people and reach a settlement, reach a Grenadian solution, a solution that would benefit all, a solution not for the now, but a solution for the future as well. So folks, here I say again, in considering the matters to come to that conclusion, one must recognize a solution must be found, a Grenadian solution, in the context of Grenada. In the context of Grenada as a state, not only to satisfy now, but also the future. Because this issue is not one of a one-off payment now. It is something that continues. It is something for the future. And in coming to the conclusion of this matter, folks, that ought to be considered. I bring to you this morning those information so you could understand the situation that we are faced and what is needed to deal with and to treat with. And we already have some of the ingredients in place, folks. We have a caring government, your government. We have a capable leader. We have a capable team. We have a united team. All is left is understanding from we, the people. Not on emotions, but to understand whatsoever conclusion we would reach would be a claim on the state of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. And as such, we have to soberly come to a conclusion, benefiting all, ensuring that all citizens who rightfully demands and expect the best service from government will be satisfied. And I am confident that this present administration, your government, ably led by Dr. Keith Mitchell, would treat with a solution that it has not created in no way, shape, or form. This government has created the situation of pension, but one inherited, and is the only government in the last 38 years that has demonstrated the appetite, that has shown to you, the Grenadian people, that it accepts its moral obligation to you, the workers, you, the people, you, the citizens of the state of Grenada. And all I ask of you people, one thing and one thing I only ask. When the time comes, friends, the day of election, I ask of you, put country first. Put Grenada first. And I am so convinced, should you consider putting Grenada first, you will return Dr. Keith Claudius Mitchell and the New National Party to governance to continue to form and bring solutions to situations facing us, even those that is inherited, like pension. Folks, this government have been tried. This government have been tested. This government have been tried in Ivan. And you know, build back better. Facts. Tested it Emily, build back stronger. Facts. Tested in 2013, the recovery of the economy. Facts. Tried and tested with the pandemic. Perform with distinction. Facts. So when I say this government, your government, have been tried, have been tested and delivered, I am so convinced that with the issue of pension, this present administration will deliver. And this government have learned. This government are prepared to do what it takes. This government has a track record of delivering. This government has demonstrated, folks, that it has the appetite to put country and the love of country before party, in so much as instituting programs to ensure that the poor and vulnerable, the less fortunate, those who does not have the means, could be taken care of. When you ask this government for bread, this government has not offered you stone. And that is the hallmark of this government. And in considering the matters to come to a conclusion on the issue of pension, folks, take into consideration those among us who means does not afford them. Take issue, friends, that we need to have this country socially stable. Take into consideration, folks, that the stability of this country is of paramount importance. Take issue of the fact that the social programs ought to be considered. Take into considerations the Imanis, the best program instituted by any government in the region in the last 100 years, bar none, but 7 is out. And you could see the impact it already has on the young ones. And we have to consider all those things. We have to consider the fact of the workers that were on contract in coming to a solution as it relates, in coming to a conclusion, folks, as it relates to the issue of pension. And no government, folks, in the last 38 years, in my view, and in the view of many, is so placed to treat with and deal with the matter of pension for public workers. Demonstrating, folks, the ability, demonstrating the team of men and women, demonstrating the leader and the leadership of this present government. And folks, it is quite instructive here. It begs a simple question. A situation of treating with pension, would you rather have a government in training, a government finding its way to treat with the issue of pension, and on the other hand, would you want a government so tried, so tested, and have delivered for you, the people of Grenada, Carrico, and Petit-Martinique? And that would be the conclusion of the matter, folks, taking all the issues in context. Taking all the issues in context and putting Grenada first. And to whom much is given, much is required. And to whom this country, under the able leadership of the new National Party, has given. The time has come when you, the people, ought to stand up like I am standing up for Grenada, and make a decision that would not only affect the now, but would affect the future. Bearing in mind, you have to pass that baton on to your children and your children's children. So it is not an issue of emotion. It's not an issue of trying to make politics or scoring political points. Bearing in mind, the issue would be one that would be rest solely at the feet of the state of Grenada, whatsoever conclusion we come to, whatsoever government that will be placed when the time comes. And the new National Party is well placed to ensure that economic growth continues in this country, to ensure that unemployment will be reduced, to ensure that financial support will be received from development partners, i.e. the IMF, the World Bank, the European Union, and the Caribbean Development Bank. To ensure forward planning, as in the case of the homegrown program, Project Grenada. To ensure that the deficit will be lowered. To ensure that government will live within its means. And that is instructive, folks. That government will live within its means, not to sell assets to satisfy the needs. And that is the crux of the matter in coming to a conclusion on the matter of pension. Government has to satisfy the workers, but at the same time, government has to lower the deficit and live within its means. And that would be the crux of the matter. And this government, your government, has demonstrated the ability so to do. This government will continue to honor and sustain paying on sustain claims to ensure that monies are being put back into the hands of local businesses. And that the NNP, under the capable leadership of Dr. Keith Mitchell, your government has been doing. The increase, yes, the increase of capital expenditure. So we could see more roads, yes. We could see the infrastructure continuing. We could see the beautiful sidewalk like what we see in Guava and other places and Grenville and other towns. We could see more schools being repaired and refurbished and making learning institution more conducive for learnings. We'll see more improvement in health facilities. And this project, folks, will be part of growing the economy and creating jobs, thus lowering and reducing the unemployment. And that's what the new National Party have been doing. Able to create stability in the country, to cause investors to have confidence in this country. Thus come in here and invest so we could have new projects and mega projects, all creating jobs. Yes, jobs to reduce the unemployment situation in this country. Jobs would reduce the unemployment and grow the economy. To continue, yes, to treat with public workers and the pension, the matter facing us, and at the same time receive increases in salary and receiving salary on time, every time. To ensure that causing this country to continue to operate, no public service workers are losing jobs. Even if we compare regionally, thousands have been retrenched around the region. This present administration, your government, a united government, ably led by the Right Honorable Dr. Keith Mitchell, has restored hope and provided opportunities, yes, opportunities for thousands of young people. So when they say nothing has been done, just tell them these things I am pointing out to you, and these are facts, irrebuttable. This government, your government, is a hard-working bunch of people. A united and inclusive government. No scandals. No drama like Obama. Obama, no drama. Putting the people first. And I am convinced that this situation of pension facing us, all workers, ALL, all workers will be put first. The general well-being of all citizens will be considered in finding a conclusion to this situation. This government have been putting people first. And I have no doubt whatsoever that this situation facing us, after considering the whole matter, the conclusion will be one beneficial to all citizens of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. And folks, now is not the time to Monday morning quarterback. Now is not the time to point fingers. But now is the time to show. To show your neighbors, to show your friends that Grenada comes first. The love of this piece of rock comes first. And once we convince, and once we believe that Grenada comes first, the onus would be on us to prove, to find a Grenadian solution, to ensure that the new National Party return to governance, to ensure that the solution find for pension would not only be for the now, but also be for the future, taking into consideration all the workers and all citizens of this country. And how that would be achieved is by voting and putting the new National Party back into governance. Back into governance to continue to grow the economy. And we have seen and experienced growth. We have seen and experienced the reduction in unemployment. We have seen and received financial support. We have seen forward planning and know-how with the homegrown program, and we are reaping the benefits now. We have seen the deficit lowered. And we have seen government living within its means and at the same time providing for you, the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, in a sustainable and fair manner, the greater good for the greater number, affecting life and livelihood. We've seen small and local businesses continue to thrive. Money is in the economy. We have seen the continued and sustained infrastructure projects creating jobs. We have seen and experienced investors coming here in this country and investing, causing jobs to be created. Public workers have received salaries. They have received salaries on time. They have received increases. They have received one-off payments. And over 102 public workers now have been receiving, those retired, 70% of their last salaries to the tune of $2.5 million. And that's what is a government in Kenya. And that's what you expect and more from our government. And the new National Party ensured that no public workers lost jobs, even when this government have been tried, even when they are tested. You, the public workers, job was secure. Your future bright. And even when the region, many have been retrenched, hope have been restored to this country under the new National Party. Opportunities have been provided for thousands, not a few, for the greater good, for a greater number. And this government has demonstrated it is hardworking. It is united for the people of Grenada and is putting people first. The economy of this country has done better under the New National Party. We're on the path to prosperity. We cannot now allow to stop the progress. A lot has been done. But there's more to be done. And you, the people, have to allow the New National Party to continue to achieve for you, the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. So when we say, folks, that you should vote the New National Party, these are some of the issues I bring to you to show to you that this government is worthy. This government is worthy of coming to you, the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, and asking you to continue to allow them to hold the reins of governance. And we have heard the whole matter. We ought to discuss the whole matter and come to a conclusion. And never let the odds keep you, the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, from what you do. For what you know, you should do in your heart what is meant for you to do. And what is meant for you to do, folks, is to cause this government to continue. To continue to do by you what is required by our government for and of the people. To continue to have discussions with you as to the way forward. And the government has recognized that pension is a fundamental issue. The government of the day has recognized that it has a moral obligation to you, the workers of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, in finding a lasting, a fair, and a sustainable solution for you all of the citizens of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, and the general well-being. And at the same time, operating within its means as not to bankrupt the society. And that is the issues that this administration has been working on. These are the issues that one ought to consider. On one hand, public workers who are retired deserve the best. But at the same time, society ought not to be bankrupt because of that. And at the same time, we have to consider those who means does not afford them. All workers, all citizens of this state. And folks, that is the pith and substance of the issue of pension. Folks, that is the situation confronting us and how we treat with it. And which team we would want in governance to treat with and to continue to deal with matters like this. So, folks, my intention today was to give you information, all of the information, as relates to the state of play, as relates to pension, so you would come to the conclusion of the matter, knowing what it takes, knowing how it will affect us as a country, and knowing if there's a time that we need to put this country first is now. If there's a time that we need a leader of the caliber of Dr. Keith Mitchell is now. If there's a time that we need a united team of the new National Party is now. If there's a time that the Ancient of Days has set up a government for a situation is now. If there's a time that it ought to be proven that the new National Party have been tried, folks, have been tested, folks, and have delivered, and will be tried, and will be tested in discussion moving forward with pension, and will deliver. For you, the public workers, for you, the private workers, and for all the citizens of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit-Martinique, the time is now for you, the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit-Martinique folks, to stand up. Stand up like Masta Kalmila and be counted. Stand up and give the new National Party that overwhelming support it deserves to continue to perform, to continue to deliver on the behalf of you folks. And folks, in closing, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for that is the whole duty of man. Folks, have a blessed week. Take care. Be safe in all you do. Want to big up my friend Andre Donald wherever he is. Be blessed and safe. Have a nice weekend, folks. Love you all.
Instead of that, they only sit aside and rob and cheat and oppress the poor. May God, what a sin thing. I have been get throw one stone, and it bring about the feelings to all wicked men. What a plot, Bingy man throw one stone, and it bring about the feelings to all wicked men. If Rasta make a progressive move, wicked men are red. How they want to see the days when them can't send out Rasta, can't send I out, I send out Babylon. Bingy man throw one stone, and it bring about the feeling to all wicked men.